Time is now 6:32 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Lofgren.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ott. Here. Trustee Counterman.
Here.
Trustee Doherty.
Here.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Here.
Trustee Morris. Trustee Strzok.
Present.
Everyone is here except Trustee Morris, who is absent tonight, pre-excused. And next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda with the following modifications. We are going to move the discussion item A ahead of the action items. And then under discussion items, we're going to add County Road 2 update for B and C, a budget discussion, if any.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries with those changes to the agenda. Next item is audience business. Did we have? Debbie is going to check. None? Okay, no audience business tonight. Next item on the agenda is discussion item A, the letter of appreciation for the Knights of Columbus. And I believe we have an individual here to speak from the Knights of Columbus, if you want to come forward. Yeah, we moved it up. That way you're not stuck here all night, yeah. There's a button right there if you can, there's a button on there if you can press it for us. Yep.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Hernandez, fourth degree, the Knights of Columbus. Been here over 15 years, and I'm here to ask for your help, possible donation to help us with the turkey baskets. Every year, we donate 50 turkeys to needy families around the Lochbuie area. We give them a big turkey, all the trimmings, and whatever they need. In the past, one individual here stands out amongst all of you. Larry Struck has been donating to needy families for years. He has personally went out and bought dinners. I believe her name was Gertrude. He literally stand in the middle of the road, and she didn't have a phone or doorbell. He would stand there and holler at Gertrude. I think that was her name. And she'd come out and she'd say, "Oh, hi, Larry." He says, "I'm here to give you a dinner." That's how faithful Larry was. And there was 2 or 3 other people didn't have addresses or phones, but Larry was there all the time. Plus, he'd come down and help us donate to the other 50 people around. So I'm here, if I can, ask for your help in donating to our needy cause for the Knights of Columbus for the Thanksgiving baskets.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Hernandez while he's here? Trustee Strzok?
I'd once again like to thank the Knights of Columbus for what they do, and I'm not sure how many years you have been doing this, but in at least the 10 years I remember, that's 500 turkeys, 500 meals that have gone out to citizens in our town at a time when it's really important to them. I think holidays are really important to children more than anything, and I completely support what they do any way I can, and I would ask the town to support them with a letter of approval of that. If not, it'd be nice if the town could even afford a $500 donation. I mean, that would buy 50 turkeys. It doesn't buy all the trimmings, but it would go a long, long ways in helping them. So thanks again. I appreciate it.
Trustee Counterman?
Yeah, like I said the last time that this subject was brought up, I fully support us giving some type of contribution. to this need. I'd like to see us do something.
Anyone else? I guess I'm not necessarily opposed. My concern is I think we adopted a policy a couple years ago of not donating to things like this, based in part on a citizen vote to not donate to nonprofit organizations. So that's my only hesitation. I'm totally in favor of a letter of support, absolutely in favor of your efforts. My only concern is our citizens have told us, don't donate to nonprofits of any type, and I'm a little reluctant to kind of go against the will of our people. Trustee Doherty?
I guess I would kind of second that. I definitely would be in support of kind of a letter of support, but we did put through a vote to our taxpayers on if they would be interested in having the town basically donate their tax-paying money to nonprofits, and that was voted down. But I would definitely urge, our other board members, our other community members to definitely donate to your fund, as well as the many others that are out there that are, very deserving as well. So I definitely appreciate what you do as well. But I would like to stand by kind of what the board voted on years back, as well as what our citizens kind of voted for as well. But like I said, I would definitely be in support of adopting a letter of recognition.
Anyone else? Okay, well, I think what we'll do then, we're gonna have a budget discussion a little bit later tonight, and I think we'll make a final decision then as to whether we wanna work this into our budget or how we wanna go about it, because it sounds like we're a little divided now and we have a couple people who haven't spoken up. But do know we appreciate all of your efforts, 100%, even if we can't financially support them.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
I make a motion to write a letter of appreciation to the Knights of Columbus for their Thanksgiving dinners
Second.
and their efforts.
I have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So I will draft a letter of support and recognition. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. For the benefit of our audience, there are two items on tonight's consent agenda. The payment approval report, we don't have one tonight, and the October 15th, 2019 minutes.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. That's all.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor? Or actually, roll call, sorry.
Oh, there's no money involved.
Trustee Jeffrey. Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Trustee Strock.
Yes.
Trustee Ott.
Yes.
Mayor Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Counterman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Carries 6-0. Next item on the agenda is action item A, the Ramey Agreement and Fee Structure. Mr. Ramey.
When don't you?
Well, the other day, there's a person in my office named Sherry, and I said, "Hey, Sherry," and my phone started talking to me. I was like, I don't know if I like that. Well, I'm just up here for renewal. You guys have in your packet, I think Maureen has prepared an addendum to our normal agreement, and I'm fine.
Yeah, you actually have two forms of agreement in your packet tonight. The first one is not the one that we're going to execute. We're going to execute the one that, I don't know what page it starts on your packet, but it's the one that looks like our standard form of professional services agreement, much shorter. And it really just renews the existing longer agreement that we have and incorporates the new compensation amounts that were proposed by Ramey for 2020. So I just want to make sure you understand what we're executing. That's the one. That's correct.
Page 13.
Page 13.
Questions or comments for Mr. Ramey or for Maureen? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the professional service agreement, 2020 extension between the town of Lochbuie and Ramey Environmental Compliance Incorporated.
Second.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Trustee Strack.
Yes.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Counterman. Mayor Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Trustee Ott. Thank you.
Carries 6-0. Thank you. Next item is the underwriter engagement agreement. Mr. Stamey.
So just a quick update. After our last budget discussion, Mayor Lofgren and I had a discussion about funding our water system capital improvement projects and whether looking at a water revenue bond would be appropriate to help us do those projects in a more timely fashion. So I did make contact with Alan Matlaws, and his company is now called Stifel that he works for. But he also worked with the town on our refinancing of the original water revenue bonds in 2012, refinancing of the street bonds, and also for the County Road 2 street bond. So he's very familiar with the town, and so the engagement letter in your packet tonight would allow us to continue discussions with Mr. Matlaws and would allow him to do research and provide the town with some financing options and payment options if we chose to do a bond issue. And he would be available to attend our board meeting on November 19 to have a conversation with the board about what he's looked at in terms of what he thinks the water fund would support for a bond issue. And one of the main projects I think this would have potential application for and be good would be for the construction of Lake Henry and all the things that go along with the lake in terms of the dam and the outlet structures and the pumps, and just to get that project done as one project, and as opposed to trying to figure out, our balance in the water fund and budgeting that over a 2-year period. And the other project we could have for consideration in this is to help with the funding of the water tank. And my guess is that these would not be a bond to do 100% of the total of that. It'd be a portion, so we do a portion of revenue bond financing as well as water fund cash balance to help pay for the remainder of those 2 projects.
Just 2 points of clarification. So after we were discussing Lake Henry at our budget session, and Steve's suggestion that we downscale it to make sure we didn't use up all of our cash balance, I did reach out and say, hey, have we thought about a bond as one way of being able to do the whole project without spending all of our cash, which is what led to these conversations. And the second thing, just to make clear, Steve, the underwriter engagement letter is of no cost to the town, right?
That's correct.
Questions or comments for Steve? Mr. Strack?
I'm kind of wondering about the timing on the elevated water tank. I mean, is it possible that we could put Lake Henry in front of that elevated water tank?
I believe, very good comment, and I think our intent would be to do Lake Henry as a priority project ahead of the water tank right now.
Else? If there are no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the underwriter engagement agreement between Stifel, Nicholas and Company Incorporated and the town of Loch Louis.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Strack.
Yes.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Trustee Ott. Trustee Counterman.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion carries 6-0. Next item is action item C, the one everyone is here for tonight, probably, or not. The public hearing and consideration of the final approval of ordinance 2019-646, which amends all of our building codes, and I'm not going to read them all.
Could I just ask you one question? I thought, did we insert the County Road 2 briefing?
Yes, we're going to do that after this. So
After
so
the
we can
building code?
bump it if it
Okay.
makes more sense. Probably should, since we have people here for that. We'll come back to action item C, and we'll go to our County Road 2 update, if you want to step forward. Hi.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Trustees, we'll try and keep this brief. I'm Sean O'Hearn with Inertia Consulting Group. We're the town's construction manager for the County Road 2 project. And I have with me Randy Ficklin with Asphalt Specialties. They are the road contractor. What we'd like to do is give you just a brief explanation of the project, how it's phased, and how it's being built out, and the schedule. for the project. So I'll let Randy describe that.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for everybody giving me a chance to get up here and kind of update everybody. With the completion of phase one, excuse me, scheduled soon, kind of wanted to give an update on what's been done and then what's actually scheduled to occur. We're coming into, obviously, the fall, winter season, so we want to make sure that everybody's in the same understanding of what we want to accomplish and then what could happen, I guess. So in phase one so far, we've installed all the underground utilities, also in partnership with like United Power, Comcast, Xcel. Everybody's, relocated the utilities that were required. We've also partnershiped with the contractors on the south side for the Lockbuoy Center, Lockbuoy Station, and kind of, installed some sleeving or utilities that was required for them as well, so that there was no trenches or anything cut in the new asphalt on County Road 2. What we're doing now is we're trying to get the parameter poured in concrete. All the machine work has been done. We are doing hand pours for like radiuses, handicap ramps, cross pans, stuff like that. We've also done all the prior dirt work that was required. We needed to import material to build the new elevations, import base for the subgrade for the pavement section. And our schedule right now is to try to get everything ready to pave the whole south section on Saturday. As always, everything's weather permitting at the moment. After we do that, over the next 2 weeks, we'll be paving the next 3 phases of the north side, which will include Bonanza, Wagon Trail, and Homestead. And then after that paving is completed, between Steve, myself, Sean, Dave, we'll kind of evaluate the weather and the forecast and determine, probably what's the best move for us to move forward with. We want to make sure that if we're in an area of weather where we can't proceed with phase 2, if we can proceed, and that's my desire, I would definitely like to try to get this finished this year. We will move all the traffic to the outside new lanes. We will remove the existing asphalt on the center, remove the excess dirt, bring in the road base. Like I said, all the underground utilities are already in place, so then we will put the new median island in and then complete the paving out. Typically, that probably would be done the first week of December right now, if everything stays on schedule. Based on that, it's pretty tough to complete a top lift that late in the season. If weather allows it, we'll go for it. If not, it would probably be an early spring thing to finish.
And if the top lift wasn't applied this year, it'll be 8 inches of base and 4 inches of asphalt that the traffic will travel over the winter.
So it will be usable.
It will be used.
So under any circumstances, we're gonna have a usable 4-lane road by mid-December?
Mid-December is the goal right now.
Weather depending.
That's always
And-
going to be
and the
like the caveat.
And the fallback that we've talked about is, right now, all of the traffic is on the existing pavement down the middle. And if the outer lanes if we're able to complete the outer lanes and possibly not the median and the inner lanes, then there's still the ability to travel on part new pavement. It's really a week by week calibration. Critical path items, getting the utilities in, allowing the contractor to the south tie in water, and some of the other things that the town did to ensure that that project could move forward without coming back after the brand-new road is done and asking to tear it up, so.
When you say weather dependent, does that mean snow or does that mean cold, or both?
Both, yeah. This time of year, especially with roads, if we were putting in gravity pipe, it'd be one thing. Whenever there's frost in the ground, then the frost has to work its way out of the ground. We're trying not to add additional costs to the project, blanketing over the base or over the concrete. So we meet every Monday and we kind of talk through what the plan is for the week. And this is a good example where we're expecting weather over the course of the next 2 days and preparing for paving if possible on Saturday. And next week we'll go through the same calibration. But the main goal is to make sure that, A, we don't impact public health and safety either now or through the remainder of the project, whether it's in December or later than that, and not add additional costs that, that oftentimes it's a decision that you have to contemplate, and we've decided that we won't add cost for blanketing concrete or some of the things that, just add to, don't add value to the project, but add cost, and to save some time. But unless we were entirely sure, like you had said, that we would be finished by the middle of December, we wouldn't put that burden on the town from a cost standpoint.
Before I turn it over to the board, I have two questions that I've received from the public. It sounds like by mid-November, if everything goes well, the north side will be paved, so where we have all those big dips and everything right now are gonna be repaired? Okay.
You mean in the existing road or?
Yes.
Okay. So-
There's like a dig out, especially at Wagon Trail, where it dips down real good.
Yeah, so today, actually, this occurred, all three intersections were milled in place, which means we took the existing asphalt, we milled it, or reclamated it, kept it in place so that the public could travel over it without getting in the subgrade. So the way that our specification is on the plan, we've got to do one intersection at a time as we build through it. So we'll start at Bonanza, we'll rebuild it, then we'll go to Wagon Trail, and then we will go to Homestead. So Wagon Trail has a concrete crosspan on it though, and that crosspan should be poured probably within the next 3 days. And then that intersection will need to be closed for probably 2 days after that though, just because I gotta have the concrete achieve strength before I can put traffic on it.
And that is one additional cost we did ask the town today for, is an additional $1,000 to use high-early concrete, just to.
It expedites the cure time on it.
And the second big question I've received is, do we know when the streetlights are going to go in?
Not as part of this project. What is being done as part of this project is the installation of all of the conduit for streetlights. But the streetlights are part of the overall plan, starting at 50th and coming all the way down to the traffic circle. And they all have different time horizons based on the traffic studies that the town has done, as well as the developers that have been developing adjacent to the.
But I think you're talking about
Not the stoplights, like
United
the
Power-
actual,
the United Power.
streetlights.
Yeah.
yes.
That'll be the last thing installed.
So it'll be, when you say last thing, are we talking mid-December, or are we talking maybe next spring if it takes that long to get there?
Right now, I would plan on next spring. Yeah.
That's the more realistic bet, honestly.
Yeah,
is next spring.
we'd like to get the
That's fine, I
sidewalks
just want to
in.
be able to tell people what the answer is.
The goal is to get all the flat work done, get the sidewalks, get everything done, and then have the dry utilities come in after that.
I have quite a few questions. Can you clarify your lifts again, and kind of what your phasing is, between the north and the south, and then the inner zone, the inner lanes as well? Because I wasn't clear on that, because you had mentioned that you would be doing the south first, then the north, and then you would go into the center, but then you had mentioned something about not being able to do the last lift of the asphalt. Is that of the center lanes, the inner lanes, or is that of the outer lanes?
It's for all of the lanes right now. If we could get the top lift down that last 2 inches, we would, but that's more temperature dependent, and I'll let Randy speak further, but I would counsel the town right now to expect to have just the bottom lift of asphalt, the bottom 4 inches of the 6 inches installed this year. Do you?
Yeah, and so your sections, I think you're asking about, so it's 8 inches of base, and then there's 4 inches of a grading S asphalt and 2 inches of a SX asphalt, which is your surface. So 2 inches typically is a higher temperature requirement to pave. So this late in the season, getting that installed probably wouldn't happen, and that's the full width, even if we do get to rebuild the existing lanes.
So I'm still trying to kind of understand the phasing,
So when I say south, I mean from existing asphalt to the new curb line to the south, which is from Wagon Trail East to the end of the project.
So would you be doing south north, then you'd move to the center lanes and do those up to the same, I guess, the underside of the top, and then go back and do the south, north, and then do the center. So that's where I'm confused on when you guys are planning on doing that top lift of the north and the south relative to the deconstruction of the inner lanes. That's what I'm not clear on.
Typically, you full build everything before you top lift it.
Okay,
So we'll put 3/4 of the pavement section in on the south and the north in this phase, like, you know, we're trying to plan to do now. And then we'd put traffic on that 4 inches of asphalt.
okay,
And then we would rebuild the center lanes at the new pavement sections. And then what you typically do is, as we're top lifting, we would either work north to south or, you know, either direction, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And we would actually move to like the traffic around us as we overlay the.
I got you.
Half of the project, and then move to the new asphalt again and overlay the other.
okay, that makes sense. And then,
Typically, because the way joint layouts are and everything with your striping, and you really don't want transverse joints mid-project. We try to overlay the whole thing at the end, or top lift.
okay, that's fair. You talked about this section, and I'm just trying to recall from memory, but we went with a composite section on this, right, which was cheaper, but is generally regarded as just as durable as like the thicker sections.
I think more so, based on what we've seen in town. Just using Silver Peaks as an example, the part of Silver Peaks that was built back 10 years ago is a full-depth asphalt. It's 9 inches on the main roads and I think 6 inches on the local roads. And then the northern part of Silver Peaks that was built starting a few years ago, that has a composite section where it's Class 6 and then the asphalt on top of it. With the sandy soils, the real blow sand type of soils, you have a tendency to have transverse cracking in full-depth asphalt. So that's why we made the switch. And I think the town right now requires a composite section.
But, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to make sure what you were saying in your section aligned with that, and that sounds right. Okay. So if we do have to, so the plan is, if we can't get to the inner 2 lanes until spring, are they going to be open for travel?
I think that's.
Right now,
Right
we're-
now, and mainly because there's a grade change between the new and the old, so you really can't have them both functioning at the same time.
Okay, because that was actually part of my concern, is if it is, we're going into a time of year where it just beats the hell out of asphalt, and like, what were we gonna be doing, since it's not completed, you know, what are we gonna be doing to make sure that the potholes get repaired on time? I mean, from a safety standpoint, I get where you guys are coming from, but this is also the time when asphalt really gets beat up.
Yes. And, you know, you can look at, what the goal is to have all of the traffic on new asphalt if possible.
Okay.
Or combination where we're not creating a situation where the traveler has to negotiate a grade change, either turning into wagon trail or bonanza, or as they travel up and down from west to east and east to
Okay.
west. Spend a fair amount of time, especially now, thinking that through and talking about it, and as more progress happens on the road, that answer becomes, we come closer to what will be the final way that the road is left. But human health and safety is the first litmus test that we have to pass.
Okay. So then my next question, sorry, I have quite a few things. So I get that you guys don't want to, so actually part of your phasing, when are the sidewalks included in what we just talked about for, you know, the south, the north, the inner, where does sidewalks play into this?
Right now, sidewalks are scheduled after we pave the south and the north section, just because all that work is behind curb and gutter, so we can do it while we're constructing the center section of the road.
Okay. We really haven't had a ton of concrete, but have we, I guess from what we've done, have we gotten cylinder breaks at all? I mean, because my question is, because typically we do cylinder breaks at like 3 days, is that right? So,
7 and 20.
so based on the 3, have you guys been reaching strength? Because I guess part of where I want to go with that is, if we're gonna, and granted, it's $1,000, so I mean, it's, for the total cost of the project, it's not a huge deal, but, I mean, if you guys are reaching strength already based on a 3-day break, then is there really an advantage to going and paying $1,000 for high yearly if we're already getting the breaks based on?
Well, just so you know, a 3-day break isn't the same strength that's required as
No, I get that,
so
but,
700
so it's,
pounds in 3 days.
well, so that's what I'm asking, what, are you getting full strength at 3 days?
No, so it's an aged process. So at 3 days, if you're at 700 to 800 pounds versus the 4,000 pounds you want at the end of 28 days, that means you're on the right track.
Right.
But it's not at strength of foot traffic or
So your breaks at 3 days are more in that 800 range, not the full strength or even close to the full strength. Because I know a lot of the mixes will come out and, you know, I mean, even at like 14 days, you're going to be pretty close to full strength to begin
Yeah,
with.
and that's what we expect. So the concrete work started last week, and we haven't seen any results from Terracon yet, but we should. We should.
Okay. I mean, because if you're seeing high breaks at 3 days, then yeah, that's. I'm just trying to make sure that, you know, we're not. Granted, we want to be safe for having traffic on it, but if the breaks are coming back high, then I don't know.
Well,
Just a thought.
it's the crosspan that we're going to spend a little extra money on, not the curb and gutter. And our goal with the curb and gutter is let it to cure enough that when we do pave, we don't chink it up as the asphalt goes down.
Okay.
That's usually, once we're beyond 3 or 4 days, we're in pretty good shape there. You won't see that concordant fracture.
Okay. So we have a significant amount of semi-traffic on County Road 2. So I have concerns with not having the full depth of structure for that type of traffic that we have going on that. I guess my biggest concern is residual costs that come back on the town due to the delays that we've had. And I understand that there's weather and there's other things that play into that. But if the town is having to, or has some likelihood of having to pay to repair what you guys have just got done doing, because it's not full structure at that point in time, especially for the high semi loads that we generally have on our road.
I mean, we've discussed it too, because that's my concern as well.
Yeah.
So the options are then we keep traffic on the existing road until it's completely built out.
Funnel cars to the new and semis to the old?
Oh, because then you're not construction on both sections, so.
Well, I guess I was saying if you shut down for the interim, that's what I was meaning.
I mean, it's got to be either or. They all go to the new or the old. There's too much elevation change between your new road and your.
All the semis on the old, and they can beat that up. No, I get that.
That's a very good question, and I'll just add, when we build roads, whether they're county roads or town roads, having now, granted, the amount of traffic on County Road 2 is extreme compared to most roads that we rebuild. But to have a winter season where the bottom lift is down and not the top lift, if there is any structural issue, you can find it out beforehand. So it's something that it's a good indicator. We're taking what was 9 inches of full depth asphalt and replacing it with 8 inches of base and 4 inches of asphalt, which is roughly equal to about a little bit less than 9 inches. So from an equivalency standpoint, it's not the same as what was there, but it's not too much different. So as much as you want to have, the top lift above, a quarter inch above the lip of the gutter and have everything just so, it wouldn't be something that we wouldn't consider. We're looking at it right now. We're thinking about how water's going to drain from the roadway being 2 inches shallower and so on. But if we have good weather, I think it'll be less of an issue. If worst case, it may very well be that even though those outside lanes are done, if the risk is greater than what Terracon believes it should be, the town's engineer thinks it should be, then then we may come back and give you an update with regard to where traffic goes, because it's an investment that we certainly don't want to damage, and we don't want to create, something that needs to be maintained sooner than it would had it been built all as one activity.
Thank you. And then,
I'd just like to add to that too, no matter what, with the project was designed, traffic is gonna be on that 4 inches no matter what.
well, I guess my concern is it's going to be on, if we're not able to move forward, it's on there for a longer term than what we were expecting and what was anticipated in design. So I get there's kind of the sequence and what's kind of critical path for getting traffic on this. I guess I have a couple parts of this question, but the first, even with, if we do have to delay and we have to push things to spring, where does that put sidewalks? And I'd like to understand where that is for sidewalks in relationship to the school starting back up next spring. That's not how that works, never mind. Holy cow. Spring goes during this, or the school.
Well, there'll be a 7-Eleven in the Lac Bowie Center area as well, so just, that there'll be foot traffic to that store. So the goal will be to get the sidewalks in without having to spend extra money to cover them. So if we have reasonably good weather through November, I think what Randy is saying is that that's an activity that can run parallel to the road. And it's all, if you've had a chance to walk out there, both sides for the 8-foot sidewalk on the north and the 10-foot on the south, everything is graded, so that sidewalk can be installed. What we don't want to do is, put it down and then have bad weather and then spend $2 a foot to, or probably $3 a foot to cover it.
Okay, so that kind of goes to my next part, is if we do have to put kind of things on hold due to the weather, I guess I still see that there could be tons of things that we can be working on to try to not shift the whole schedule out. I guess deconstructing the inner lanes is something that I would think can be done during any weather.
If they're not driven on, sure.
Getting the formworks up for the sidewalk, getting things, generally prepared to be able to go kind of full bore when the weather eases up next spring.
So the center section, if I remove that 8 inches, that's a huge safety hazard. Just because you're taking a foot of existing grade there away and you're not replacing it with anything. So
But like
trying to do that, in the winter when you can't do anything else, it hurts you more than it does help you. Because you have traffic driving on 2 sides of it, and then you got a foot drop off with no protection, and it's gonna be icy, and, you're looking at somebody possibly sliding into it. And the sidewalk, any concrete actually has the same requirements as asphalt does. You can't install it on anything frozen, for one. So, if we're not doing asphalt, we can't be doing.
Well, the formworks for the sidewalks can go in, right? There's nothing
It's all
prohibiting. What's that?
It'll all be.
Oh, it's machine, the sidewalks are? Okay, so that doesn't work. I was just trying to figure out, things that we can cut
Typically, we
loose.
would try to keep construction activities going in the winter, like pipe or anything underground, or, boxes or outlet structure, stuff like that you can do in the winter. But honestly, what we've got with the remainder of this project, it's all weather dependent.
And some of the activities like streetlights, for instance, the town's already paid United Power for them, and they'd be glad to come and put them in, but they'd be knocked over before, as the grade between the sidewalk and the back of curb and all of the other activity that has to happen. So some things, it's just better to wait till the very end to make sure that there's no redo.
That's the only things that I had, sorry.
Sure, that was only like 15 minutes. Anyone
All
else?
valid points.
Yeah, they were good questions. Anyone else? Thank you for the update. Yeah. Thank you for the update. And I do think we have a couple members of the Berkshire HOA here. So if you guys wouldn't mind chatting with them outside after, I think they had a couple questions too.
We do meet with David and with Steve on Mondays, and we try and go through the different scenarios that we'll be faced with over the course of the next several weeks. And with any luck, we'll have good weather and things will continue to move forward. The long lead items are behind us now. Now it's building roads. So anyway, thanks for the time, and please
thank you.
let us know through either Steve or David if you have any other questions. We're happy to come and talk, and not so much. I tend to be wordy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is, now we'll go to our public hearing for the consideration for final approval of ordinance 2019-646, repealing and reenacting various building codes. And I'll have our representative from Safe Built come forward. Oh, yes, we'll have you do your thing first, and then I'll open the public hearing.
Hello, I'm Rocco DeLuca. I'm your building official. Thank you for having me. We've gone through a couple of different versions and some minor modifications. And Grant, you probably know the information better than I do, so do you want to address the couple of modifications that we made?
So from, I know a couple people talked to me after when this came through maybe a month or so ago. And I had read through it, and there's a couple of things that we did update. So I'll kind of note the ones that I know specifically. So let's see. Under Part 19 in the IBC, so it's IBC 1109. We added baby changing stations. Initially, it was only in IPC. It was kind of my thought that generally architects don't look at the IPC because it's the plumbing code and they're not plumbers. Where they would be looking at the building code, and it's generally them that are going to spec that and put that in and show that. So putting that in the IBC, I was told that it needed to be in the IPC as well to be able to enforce for ADA. So we left it in there, but we also added it in the IBC just again, so it's a little bit easier to spot for an architect. So I know that I don't think that's one we really specifically talked about. We talked about having it in the code. I don't really think you guys probably all care about exactly where it's at, but I figured you guys want it to be apparent. Under the IRC, section 17, which is IRC R30213 for fire protection, we talked about kind of some of the exceptions for rating or for putting sheathing in a mechanical space in the basement where they don't have to protect the underside of essentially wood eye joists. The way that it was initially noted is that they would have to put, it was a weather stripped self-closing solid door into that room, and the walls had to have had to have an inch, a half inch of gypsum wallboard. The concern that I had is that we didn't say anything about the ceiling, so the walls are protected, we have a self-closing door, but inside that room, it burns the floor and then it burns the rest of the floor, so there's really nothing isolating that room if you don't also include that on the ceiling. So that was added to that section. Again, it's 17 under the IRC. And then the next thing too, we really updated section 20 in the IRC. It's a little bit wordy and lengthy, but I think it clarifies really kind of the requirements for egress and when the board had kind of talked about when they thought we should have egress and how many egress and so forth for both finished and unfinished basements. So that's kind of that. Let's see, I think that was it. And that is it. We can kind of go through that one, but I don't know if there's any questions on that. So those are the major changes from when we initially saw it a couple of weeks ago or a month ago now.
Questions or comments for Rocco or Trustee Doherty, who worked closely with Rocco? Trustee Counterman.
Explain the egress a little bit more to me.
Yeah. So like I said, it's a little, unfortunately, it's a little wordy, but I couldn't think of a way around that.
Can you say it in 10 words or less?
No, that I can't. So essentially what this is trying to say is that in basements that are permitted with unfinished basements, every window in that unfinished basement has to be egress. Whereas if it's permitted and it's finished, all windows with the exceptions of why am I not seeing that? Where you go? With the exception of bathrooms, corridors, storage rooms, and mechanical rooms, would have to be egress. So those are kind of the two main things. There's a third part that then also just generally says that all sleeping rooms have to have an egress.
Thank you.
And then, sorry, the other thing too is it specifically notes that they also have to have an egress, so they can, they couldn't just not put a window in because they didn't want to put an egress window in.
Okay, any other questions for Rocco or for Trustee Doherty before I open the public hearing? Okay, the time is now 7:18 PM. I will open the public hearing for any members of the public who wish to comment on any of these items. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:19 PM. And we will entertain any final questions, thoughts, comments before we take action on this. Trustee Strock.
Half-inch drywall on the walls and a fire door, so to speak, fire door. I'm wondering why we're not using 5/8 rock on the ceiling in that area rather than, I noticed it said 1/2 inch, I think, on it.
Rocco, I actually, sorry, I just took. Again, I had brought that up to you as well, and can you kind of address that part?
Well, the key to this is that these are combustible buildings. A house is not intended to have firewalls, fire separations. The only purpose of having this protection on there is it's listed as a membrane. It's not a rated assembly of any type. So it's not a building like this. It's a building that's intended to burn. Yeah, maybe that's not the right terminology.
Great description.
If it does, the idea is that the building is designed and protected long enough for your family to get out and have the fire department have ability to get in and access that. They will burn. They're made out of wood. The good majority of buildings for residences today are made out of wood. So the whole purpose of having that membrane, there's some requirements where you don't have to have anything in your basement to protect that ceiling. It's wide open. The key is when you have these type of I-joists, and they're basically made out of chipwood.
Glue.
And glue. The idea is when you use those, which obviously they're cheaper, they're more accessible, but we want to protect that long enough to allow your family to get out, the fire department to get in, and hopefully not bring the fire department in to walk in those areas. And when you have a furnace in the basement, those are some of the things. So this is, like I said, this has gone through a lot of national code adoption and discussion. This is only to protect those I-joists under there for a small amount of time in order to, like I said, get your family out. So it's not intended to have a large fire and stay that way for a long period of time. They will burn. There's no doubt about that.
I completely agree. It just seems to me that, that 5/8 layer on the ceiling would be a little more prudent. The only other two questions I had is, out of all these books, well, first of all, I was sent an email that said we would have the updated amendment on the dais tonight, and so I apologize for not having it here and not having it. The other thing is that all these books, it said in that report that they were supposed to be available in the office, 3 for each book and for 15 days. And I realized that we did post IBC and the IRC in there, but some of these other books weren't. So I just wanted to make that comment. And I know it's kind of ridiculous to buy 12 books or 24 books and leave them in there, but that was my only other comment. So thank you.
Just because I think it is relevant, did you have anyone come in and request a book that was not available? Okay, thank you.
And I apologize, because I printed those. I had a lot of meetings throughout the day today, and they didn't make it out on the dice, but I can give it again.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns before we take action? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 2019-646, an ordinance repealing and readopting Article 1 of Chapter 18 to the Lochbuie Municipal Code concerning building regulations, adopting by reference the International Building Code 2018 edition, the International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwellings 2018 edition, the International Fuel Gas Code 2018 edition, the International Plumbing Code 2018 edition, the International Mechanical Code 2018 edition, the International Existing Building Code 2018 edition, the International Property Maintenance Code 2018 edition, the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code 2018 edition, and the International Energy Conservation Code 2018 edition, promulgating by the International Code Council and the National Electrical Code NFPA 70 2017 edition, promulgated by the National Fire Protection Association Incorporated, and as adopted by the state of Colorado, and setting forth in full the penalty provisions for violations thereof.
You have to read the whole thing again for a second.
Oh, would you really like me to?
Motion and a second, roll call, please.
Trustee Counterman.
Yes.
Mayor Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Ott. Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Strock.
No, these are combustible buildings, and I believe taking out some of the fire ordinance and rules are not right, so, thank you.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1. Next item on the agenda is discussion item C, a budget discussion, if any. I just wanted to give anyone an opportunity to present any further discussion items regarding the budget. I know Trustee Counterman had approached me after the last meeting that he might have something. If anyone has anything, now's your time to throw it out there so Steve can work it into the budget before our next meeting. Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is staff comments. Carlos.
Carlos. I'm filling in for Chief today. I mean, he's on vacation. He's in Hawaii, so it's bear with me here. Obviously, you guys have the board members have Chief's report. I'm just going to give a little quick highlights here. Community Service Officer Welch continues to be very active within the community, issuing warnings and citations, and basically we're looking for compliance. So we're getting that. We are getting that compliance. We have officers that attended several trainings over the last couple of months. Sergeant Olinger just finished an LPO class, which is Leading Police Officers Supervisor course, which that was like 3 weeks. Officer Nazarenus just completed his crisis intervention training, CIT, for the department. Sergeant Southard, Officer Hart, and I, we just attended an ethics in policing this last earlier this October. The town of Hudson just recently hired a new chief. His name is Jay. I'm probably going to butcher his name here, Hirokawa. I have met him, and he's very approachable, and since we work very closely with the Hudson's Marshal's Office, it's important that they have a good quality organization, and we look forward to continue working with them. Halloween, or actually our Public Safety Day, we had a great turnout, and I appreciate all the board members that were able to come out. So we're going to gear up and do it again next year. Halloween is actually just around the corner already. We're going to do it again here on Town Hall property, haunted house, all the other good stuff for the kiddos. We got lots of candy, on our side of the station. So we haven't been eating it. We have it locked away. That's going to start like around 5:30. Going to go probably till 8:30. We usually have a very, very good turnout. We get a lot of kids come in, and like I said, we do have a haunted house for everybody, and the little ones tend to go through it more times than the bigger kids. But as always, don't hesitate to contact the police department for any questions or concerns. As Chief always mentions, he encourages the community to come out and talk to him. You know, he does have an open door policy, and that's what he likes, and that's what we like to, you know, make sure that the community just wants to come out and reach out to us whenever they have any problems or concerns. Other than that, if you have any other questions, I'm here to answer them for you.
Comments for the police? Trustee Strack?
I have one. It's about the school resource officer. Is there a dress code for the school resource officer?
Right now, his dress code is his full uniform, yes. Yes.
So I guess my question is, I was kind of wondering, do you think it would make a psychological difference to the children if he were dressed in school clothes instead?
That's a good question. I don't, I know other police departments do have their officers dressed like in khakis or in a polo shirt. But I don't really know. I mean, I can find out for you and I'll let you know.
Sure, thank you. I just kind of wondered about that.
Okay.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. I see you got the speeding and the DUI and the stop signs. What is the traffic criminal violation? You had 12 of those.
Had to put my glasses on. So as far as traffic criminal violations, so basically, you know, anything criminal, so like DUIs and.
Oh, so the DUIs, because you got separates for DUI, that's why I wondered.
So we have DUI, so we're,
License maybe?
No, that's
yeah, probably. Well, no, because we have, let's see here.
driving vehicle under suspension, driving vehicle under
Reckless, careless. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'll lay by my dish.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you for your update. Public Works.
Good evening. Just a quick update from Public Works. Full staff, everything's going well. Couple guys on vacations, and one gentleman had a son. One of our newest members just had a son this morning or last night. So he's the newest citizen of Black Bowie. So that's going great, and that's Jesus. Otherwise, everything's on schedule. We're trying to wrap up a couple of small projects. We're trying to wrap up with the sweeping operation this month. Prior to that, I always shoot myself in the foot, and each project is sort of scheduled for 1 month increments, and I'm finding out it's tough to squeeze everything into 1 month. That, for example, the shoulder work that I was planning on doing in September, that's probably going to drag out through the winter, honestly, just because of the staffing and trying to get everybody out on the road at the same time. It's pretty difficult, but that's going to be the plan, to work on the shoulders some more this winter. Hydrant flushing, kind of wrap things up with the hydrant flushing, just because it's too cold. Can't really flush hydrants in the wintertime and all that. So the really big part I just wanted to touch base on is this 20-inch transmission line. That, just give a quick update on that, is met with the WICO people, I haven't met with the FRICO people just yet, but met with the WICO guys, and they moved the first section of fiber from Homestead to the ditch. They moved that over, aboard a new line. They're gonna do the same thing west of the canal, and we're gonna meet with them on Monday, how they're gonna cross the ditch, and that's gonna be out of our way, hopefully by beginning of November, because that's our time frame with FRICO, is they're giving us 10 days to cross the ditch this time, a little bit more time than last year. So we're going to be shooting for beginning of November to excavate and put the casing in, pull the line through it, connect the pipe, pressure test that small section, and have the pipe online. So that's the update on that. You heard quite a bit about the County Road 2 stuff. I sent a quick message to the owner of Black Bowie Center just to see where he's at. We have our construction observer out there observing construction. They're actually connecting water to the commercial plots right now and finishing up on the stormwater Their delay, and they're hoping to pave as well this year, Bonanza and Flywheel. Bonanza is north and south, Flywheel was the east and west road. They're hoping to pave those roads this year, weather permitting. Their holdback is actually CDOT's review process on how they connect onto the frontage road on that south side of that piece. But sounds like they're optimistic and they want to do it. You know, nobody wants to wait and prolong anything past the winter if they can finish it this fall. So roundabout, just a quick update on the roundabout project. Martin Martin's actually helping me revisit the specs, the specifications for that project. There's some new details that CDOT has implemented this year, and those have to be incorporated into the new set of plans. Not a big deal. It's really just a days of work for our engineers. And as soon as that's good, we're gonna re-advertise hopefully by the end of this month. And I've been pretty proactive, reaching out to the construction companies, just sending out emails, informal emails, just saying, hey, heads up, this thing's coming out, be ready. Last year, we actually had, and I kept track of all the companies that downloaded all the papers that we posted. We had about 140 companies that downloaded the papers and one company that bid on the project. So it's probably the timing of it. We're hoping we'll have more than one this time around. So that's what I got. I'll give you more updates next time. Yeah. If you have any questions, as always, holler at me.
You'll have to excuse me, but how does refinishing 2, where does that tie in up at the top where the roundabout's gonna go? I mean, do they completely finish 2 and then put in the roundabout?
That's a good question, and we've been talking about that quite a bit, just because the ideal situation would have been the widening project finishes up, and that roundabout project also is finishing up at the tail end of it. That timing didn't work out, so we're gonna have to figure out some sort of a temporary transition where it goes from 2 lanes to 4 lanes and then back to 2 lanes. That's the best way I can answer that. It's going to be some temporary asphalt, possibly some markers, delineators, telling people how to go and which direction to travel. And
So 2 runs up to the roundabout.
Right.
It stops there then? At the roundabout, and the roundabout
yeah, so
takes
the
over?
assuming we're going to finish the widening of County Road 2 this fall, right? That's going to be much wider, obviously, than the roundabout. It's going to. Once it's completed, the roundabout is completed, that's obviously going to match the width of it. That's not going to happen until next spring.
I have some concerns about all the congestion there because it's a nightmare now to get through that intersection, and I'm just thinking if all that's going on, how all that's going to work as far as diverting the traffic to a safe way to go, I guess, is what I'm trying to.
One thing we're going to do is meet with Apex is a consultant we work for traffic, and they were pretty proactive in the temporary the review of the temporary traffic for County Road 2 stuff, and same thing with the roundabout project as well. He's providing us kind of guidance. Hey, this is kind of how you want to put this in. These are the temporary structures you want to install, and just in an interim process, period, I guess. I'm concerned too. I go through that intersection every day home.
Yeah.
It's pretty crowded.
That'll be interesting.
Trustee Strang?
Where the 20-inch water transmission line is, so it's my understanding we're going to lower that bridge about 3 feet. And so the bottom of the canal will probably stay the same, and we'll just bring down the upper walls maybe a little bit.
Correct, yeah. The design of it goes down quite a bit. So when they submitted when we looked at the design depth of the pipe, we also looked at the wing wall depth of the new bridge.
All right.
We looked at three things, actually, that bridge. Well, it wasn't finished at that time, but just the worst-case scenario, how deep it's going to be, the support structures for the bridge, where that pipe's going to be. And that pipe has to be minimum of 5 feet from the bottom of the trench. So it's pretty deep. It's like 17 feet, that whole excavation.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your update. Next update, Mr. Amy.
All right, you guys have received my report. Hopefully, you've gleaned through it and you've got 50 questions apiece. You know, the wastewater plant's doing good. Most of the activities that we've been doing is fine tuning that new dewatering equipment, the fan press. We've had 3 or 4 polymer salesmen out there trying different kinds to see what we can get for the driest cake, for the lowest dose. You know, when you do that, that takes up your whole day. I mean, you're running normally like 50 tests in a day, where you would, you know, on a slow day you might, or a regular day, you might only do like 5. So that's been taking up a lot of time. But we're making headway. We're up to about 15% dry, and what that means is that we've taken 15% of the water out of the liquid to where the cake becomes drier, so that we can put more in the dumpster, so it costs us less to haul. Our goal is to see if we can't hit 18%. So if we can do that, then we've actually saved quite a bit of money. At the water plant, everything's going good there. You can see our production's up a little bit. Not overly concerned about that. Lead and copper's always been collecting those and getting residents to do that for us. You know, that's always a battle. However, we got everything done. We did get one where the guy just wasn't going to do it. There was no convincing him that he was for his own good. So that's one of the things that, of all the things we have to do, that's the hardest, believe it or not, is drop a bottle off at somebody's house, give them instructions, talk to them, and then come back the next day to pick up the bottle, because they have to take the sample. And so that's taken up a lot of time. On our CIP stuff, we've made good headway. As you know, the elevated potable water tank is down at CDPHE. We're waiting for approval on that. We have the blending valves for the RO units, which you guys have ordered earlier this month. The guy will be up next week. He'll start replacing or installing those valves. Let's see, on the wastewater CIP, I'm waiting on a report from Martin on looking at our last 2 years' videos, so we can find out what repairs we got for next year, so we can get those out to bid. Hopefully at the first part of the year we can get a good quote. Let's see, this week we got a little busy week. The meeting with the SCADA guy to get that started. We got a kickoff meeting on Thursday, as well as the air conditioning guy was out yesterday, sizing up, getting his parts out, ordered the unit. He said he will have it installed by November. Other than that, things are quiet. You know, it's winter. Construction's done, and we just continue to clean up. Yeah.
Questions for Mr. Amy? Trustee Strack?
So there on the fan press, it almost looked like you had gremlins in there or something for a while.
Well, what it was, so when you're using polymer, and polymer is made from petroleum products, and it is the slickest stuff you'll ever feel in your life. It's amazing how much water it would take to get an eyedropper off of your hand. And so what you do is you run mineral oil through the system after you're done to keep it clean, right? I mean, but there's parts that we have that are stainless steel that we clean with mineral spirits. And there's a difference between mineral spirits and mineral oil. So there was one part of the pump that they cleaned with mineral spirits instead of mineral oil, and that's what the gremlin was from. So that was one of those things you go like, okay, guys, there's really a difference between the two, don't intertwine them. But we got it all lined out. And we've actually modified the system because the way that it kind of was designed was counterintuitive, that you're trying to bring a really thick liquid up, over, and out. To where we just cut it, and this went straight down along the floor so we could have, it's just weird things like that. You go like, well, why'd they build it that way? And so, but that's really about all we've done yet. But I mean, we're staying on top of it. I mean, we actually run it 3 times, totally overnight. So we'll do exactly what they promised. I'm pretty pleased with that.
New air conditioning will take care of this problem too, where the other one froze up? Is that
Well, no,
the
this
same
one is to
building?
cool the MCC. So this is a whole new install. This is and it's actually in a different building.
Oh, okay, all right. That's all.
Anyone else? Thank you for the update.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Stamey.
Just, we were anticipating the 2 Silver Peaks plats to be on tonight's agenda. Those are not on because they really weren't ready. We're still working on the subdivision improvement agreement for Silver Peaks. We want to have the County Road 2 construction timing and definition of that included in this SIA. And for on Silver Peaks East, we have a meeting with the applicant's engineer team and the town's engineer team on Thursday to primarily address the engineering and the drainage issues in the quote swamp area on Silver Peaks East. So when we get those finalized, we hope to have those on the November 19 board meeting.
For Mr. Stamey, Trustee Counterman?
What's the target date for them starting that project? Do you know? Silver Peaks?
Silver Peaks East well, Silver Peaks East, we have the water resource credit completed, but we want to do that concurrently with the plat. And then assuming their sale goes through to the builder they're negotiating with, they were hoping to start either this winter with some land work, but the infrastructure would essentially be put in next year to create finished lots to build in next summer. Okay.
Staff updates before we move on to Mayor Trustee comments. Okay, Mayor Trustee comments. Trustee Counterman.
No comments.
Doc?
No comment.
Trustee Ott?
I have nothing, thank you.
Trustee Doherty?
Who's responsible for the traffic conversions on County Road 2 through They don't work. Knocked down and people drive on the old road all the time.
Oh, yeah. So.
Past the bridge, like King and Jewel. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, the old lanes at Silver Peaks, the old road.
I do have a contact. You have a contact person that was installed by Brighton, actually.
Right.
Had a response, and I'll get on top of that. I know they keep. It's a temporary kind of a solution, right? Keep everybody off there, right? And
It's like a horrible temporary solution. I'm pretty sure wind knocks those things over.
well, they put a couple. No, they put barricades as well, and those are gone. Well, I don't know. So
Right.
He's not wrong, though. It's becoming a huge issue. A lot of people are driving on it.
on that side, temporary road, yeah. Well, that
People are doing it intentionally, and I also think people are doing it because it's not clear.
I'll get that addressed. It's not even our road. It's a temporary road that they put while they were constructing their own road, and it was better to keep that there and not to chew that land up, and But those markers obviously aren't standing the test of time, I guess. But
Police department put down some strips. All I had.
Trustee Jeffrey?
I'll pass.
I had a couple of quick things. I know Clerk Blackson sent out an email about the Weld County dinner on next Wednesday. I intend to go. Is there anyone else who's planning to go that hasn't yet reached out to?
I'm going.
Connerman will be attending, Trustee Doherty will be attending, and Trustee Strock said he might. And we apparently already purchased a ticket for Dave, but he can't go, so.
She canceled it, yeah.
I canceled it because I
Okay.
couldn't turn it all on at once. Okay, so I have Trustee Doherty, Mayor Lofgren, you, Trustee Strock, and then Trustee Calhoun, right? And then Steve, are you attending? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep. The next quick thing I had is, after our 4 meetings in October, we only have 1 meeting in November. There is no meeting on November 5th. Our only meeting in November currently is November 19th, so just remember not to show up on the 5th, that's election night. I think that's all I had. Oh, I did just want to quickly address, because I forgot to bring it up when we had our budget discussion time. We've kind of left out there hanging whether we wanted to do a donation to the Knights of Columbus, so I did just want to get a poll of the board. Our policy, based on what the voters had, has been no donations to nonprofits. That was just a voter recommendation. It is not binding, so we can, if we choose to, override that policy, but that policy is out there. Trustee Jeffrey?
No.
I'm seeing no. Trustee Doherty?
No.
Trustee Att?
No.
I'm a no. Trustee Strock?
Yes.
And Trustee Connerman?
I wasn't aware that we had that policy, so I apologize for that. But I would still like to see us do something, so I'll leave it at that.
And the letter will be out there. It sounds like we do have consensus to stick with our current policy, not to make a donation to a nonprofit. So I apologize for that, but we do appreciate all of your efforts. Next item on the agenda is our executive session, and I need to get my language. So do I have a motion?
I move that we adjourn to executive session pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402, parens 4, parens F, for a matter pertaining to an employee and for which the employee has consented to the discussion in executive session.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Doherty.
Yes.
Trustee Jeffrey.
Yes.
Mayor Lofgren.
Yes.
Trustee Ott. Trustee Strock.
Yes.
Trustee Counterman.
Yes.
Thank you.
By a vote of 6-0, we will go into executive session. So I think actually everyone is leaving this one except for the Board of Trustees. Yep. Yeah, oh yes, I was gonna ask if you wanted to stay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be helpful if people have questions or. See ya.